All right, so why don't we go ahead and get started? Since one of our presenters or one of our guests has a hard time or a hard stop at 8, but so let's go ahead and get started. For those of you who don't know, my name is Fitz. I'm president of JSQCA, and today's general meeting, the broad theme is how to, it's clean, but that's such a broad topic because we're also going to discuss quality of life issues in Journal Square. And we have 2 of our 3 scheduled guests so far. And so Chris may, may join us just late. But today we have Joe Barrow, who's the director of code compliance. And we have Vishnu Khemraj. We got that right. Yeah. Also, and he's the assistant prosecutor for the Office of the Municipal Prosecutor. And so Director Barrow and Prosecutor Khemraj, you guys can join me up here at the front. And a big hand of applause. Okay. So these will be your devices. So you just select it, press it, and then you can just press. Hello. Hello. As long as the little green light is green, then you're good. So that should be already. And Director Barrow on the top.
Oh, I got questions already. Oh, I think I'm doing it right. Okay.
And then that's a bottle of water for you guys. It's thanks, Jane. Hey.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. CBS.
Yes. Journal Square site here.
Okay, great.
Oh, yeah. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. How's everything?
So you can join us up here.
Oh boy.
If you've heard of like surprises, I'm informal and can I have your name, please?
Rudy. R-U-D-Y? Rudy. Yeah.
Rudy. Awesome. Great. So basically, so we have Rudy from Commercial District Services, who's joining us on behalf of Mr. Bernardo.
He's on his way. He'll be here shortly.
Oh, he'll be here.
Yeah.
Shortly. Okay. Great.
You need to go sit back down.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
Yeah, good.
But let's go ahead and get started. And yeah, the big thing today is really quality of life. So we have Commercial District Services. So far, it's Rudy, but Mr. Bernardo is going to be joining us.
Quick, Victoria is also here and representing our state as well.
Victoria is also here. Thank you for coming, Victoria. And then the Office of the Municipal Prosecutor. And so I'm sure that's going to be a lot of questions from those of you here. And those of you joining us online, you can type the questions in the chat. And I'm actually able to see them. So I can ask them on their behalf, which is awesome. And so why don't we just get started? And for those of us in the room that are not familiar with your organization, I think that by way of introduction, if you could just say your name, title, and sort of what your organization does relative to the community, relative to Journal Square. And we can start from there. So we can go from left to right. So maybe Director Barrow, we'll start with you.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Let's see. Where close?
How about now?
It's not great. Press it once.
Looks like Christmas.
We could just use this one. Second line.
How's this? Good?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
Oh,
I'm sorry, guys.
So my name is Joe Barrow. I'm the director of code compliance with JSQCA. And as well for about 5 years, work with the Mississippi prosecutor. We handle most of the stuff with source is sanitation issues, trees, sidewalks, housing issues. If you're a resident, if you're a tenant, we have a landlord. Your landlord doesn't act. That's when our team comes in and after your landlord, and pretty much that's what we enforce.
Thank you, Director Barrow, and now the Municipal Prosecutor.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vishnu. I'm the acting chief municipal prosecutor. And we prosecute a plethora of things, including quality of life issues, mainly quality of life issues. You can see virtually almost any issue we prosecute as a quality of life issue. that includes, code compliance matters, uh, fire prevention matters, construction matters, criminal matters, disorderly persons offenses, which are the lower levels, repetitive disorderly persons offenses, those are low level crimes. We prosecute all of that. We're the enforcement branch of the city government, and we look to hold actors accountable.
Thank you. And then Chris, basically, sort of your name and then a brief description of your organization and sort of what it does. What I've said. So,
Good evening, everybody. Do I need this?
yeah,
Good evening, everybody. It's great to be here once again. It's been a while. It's good to see everyone. I'm Chris Bernardo, the Director of the Special Improvement District. I'm actually joined here tonight by a few of our staff members, Victoria Pacheco, Rudy Kuchkatarian, and Natalia Tamuziak is here. You might know them from our social media presence. We've got a few local stars emerging over here, but we represent all of the commercial properties within the boundaries of the Special Improvement District. We actually brought maps here with us tonight, just to kind of refresh everybody's memory of where the boundaries start and stop. Gives you a good sense of the area that we care for. And the commercial property owners are the ones that fund our efforts. We have a 7-day-a-week supplemental sanitation program, which also includes street sweeping. We move throughout the district from the hours of 7 a.m. in the morning up to about 8:30 at night. We have 2 shifts that we have that move around. We handle graffiti removal, pressure washing, code enforcement, or I should say code management, because we get to work with our friends here at the municipality in terms of enforcement. And we really look to maintain a higher level of quality of life, both for our business owners and for the residents in the district. We certainly do have a number of issues that come up throughout the course of the week. I'm sure we'll hear about many of those tonight, but we're here to help. We're here to provide a high level of service, and we're looking forward to having a productive conversation.
Awesome. Thank you. And so basically, tonight's gonna be very informal. I'm gonna have a few broad questions for the guests, and then we'll open it up to you guys, to the audience. And there will be a mic back there. I think I'll just take this one, put it there, and you can just line up, ask your question. As Chris said, there's a lot of collaboration that happens between these sort of organizations, and so to the extent that a question is asked that's applicable to to multiple of you, feel free to chime in. Otherwise, if it's directed at one person, then that person can just sort of answer it directly. And so Chris actually kind of teed me up for the second question I have here when he spoke about sort of collaboration. And maybe Chris, you can start us off with like how is it that the CDS, in code compliance, and the prosecutor's office interact with each other? How do you guys collaborate?
So while we do a lot in the district, we're probably the most common entity that you see in the district because we have staff here, throughout the course of the day, and we're dedicated to Journal Square. We don't have any enforcement authority, right? By law, we're here to augment and strengthen the reach of municipal services. And so we handle everything that would be considered a common area issue. That would include your pedestrian trash cans you can see at corners, the areas that the city doesn't really have the resources to focus on at a high level. That's part of what we're here to do, right? We're here to provide pressure washing in those areas. We're here to provide some of the more detailed landscaping and beautification efforts, and we're here to be a partner to the city. With that said, we have a good number of issues that do require enforcement. And when those issues come up, we look to code enforcement, and code enforcement certainly confers with the prosecutor's office in some cases to see what level of enforcement or penalty would be applicable in many cases. And we really kind of work off of each other in that way. We do a lot of reporting. We collect a good amount of data in terms of where the issues are. We know where the hotspots are, if you will. for some of the more problematic issues, mostly having to do with improper trash handling and storage on the sidewalk, and the commercial use of sidewalks, which is prohibited. And so when those cases come up, we usually reach out to Joe. And Joe is fantastic about responding. Joe's put together several walkthroughs with us over the years, and I should say more than several over the years. There's probably been several just in the last couple of weeks. And we interface with the stakeholders who are having the issue. I will say this though, and I think this is an important point. There are many cases where there are issues that are problematic, right? There's garbage on the street or there's improper use of the sidewalk, but there's no law being broken. And so in those cases, that's where education and information and engagement really is important because sometimes, a property owner may look like they're in violation, but the truth is they're not. And so we need to kind of figure out where those gray areas are and how to solve them. Another issue that we encounter a lot is a certain level of uh, for lack of a better phrase, confusion that sometimes takes place with our private vendor, regional in this case, that handles pickups for us in the area and their interpretation of what they're seeing on the street. So a lot of times we'll see garbage on the street for an extended period of time. And the reason for that is because regional saw it, made a decision, and their conclusion that they drew was that they're not permitted to pick up that garbage for a number of reasons. Most of the time it's because of commingling of different forms of garbage that cannot go together. I can't tell you how often that happens. And in those cases, it's complicated. And so that's why we need the help of code enforcement and in some cases the prosecutor to kind of sort through those issues so that we're adjudicating those issues in a fair and righteous way, and we're not unfairly penalizing people. So those are sort of I think I hope I didn't get too far into the weeds there, but like those are the complicating factors that impact our ability to enforce.
And I'm not sure if either Vishnu or Director Barrow, if you guys want to add any more context to areas where there's collaboration between the different organizations, or where's the
Yes,
should be able to just
so with Chris, if I could just add to what you were saying, with the commingling of trash and with residential and commercial trash. So we passed a law a couple of years ago, where if you're a commercial, you need a commercial hauler, private hauler, you have to have barrels now. You have to have barrels and your trash has to go in barrels. Because one of the biggest problems is regional comes by and they see all this garbage out there. They go, oh, that's commercial, I'm not picking that up. Then the private hauler comes back and says, oh no, that's residential, I'm not picking that up. So in mixed use buildings, where you have a commercial space that needs a private hauler, you have to have the business needs barrels with their waste management company on the barrels, so everybody knows what they're picking up and there's no confusion. And I think that's helped a lot, especially in SIDs.
And just to add, when it gets to the prosecution stage, we obviously communicate frequently with our witnesses, with our inspectors, obviously Director Barrow's team, the Office of Code Compliance, falls under the Quality of Life Division, which is under the Municipal Prosecutor. So we're in constant collaboration to continue to enhance and achieve a success in prosecution. So there is constant flow of communication.
great. Thank you. Chris alluded to my next question, which is really about any recurring problems or trends that you guys are noticing in Journal Square. So Chris, you spoke about commingling of trash, so like who's responsible, and sometimes we need to reach out to Director Barrow or prosecutor's office to kind of iron that out. Are there other recurring trends that you're noticing that the community should be aware about?
Yeah, well, I think just like many other industries, we're dealing with the high cost of trash removal. And that's having an impact on small businesses and their ability to pay for the level of private hauling that they need. And where we started to see a real problem was on weekends, where trash haulers increased the rate for picking up trash on the weekends, probably because their own labor rates were going up, right? And they need to adjust for that. And what we saw people doing was kind of working together and pivoting and deciding, well, look, we all can't afford to have pickups on the weekends. So what we're going to do is we're going to start placing our garbage in front of like one location, right? And we're going to share the cost of pickups. The problem with that is it causes a little bit of chaos, and sometimes in the mix of all of that, in the mix of like people figuring out like, who's going to do it this week or which property we're going to put garbage in front of, you end up having garbage on the street, and so those are some of the complications that we're starting to see emerge because of the high cost of trash pickup. I think the other issue that is important to remember is we have a lot of older properties that can't accommodate trash removal in general, right? We would all prefer for them to have, and we can talk about containerization in a little bit, but we would all prefer for them to have 96-gallon toters where they place their garbage nice and neatly in those toters. They put them out at the prescribed time, and then they bring them back in, right? There's plenty of communities that are able to accommodate that. Many of those communities happen to be in cities that developed a lot later. A lot later than Jersey City, and so we have a lot of situations where properties simply cannot accommodate the standard that we would all like to see. We had an example of this just recently on Bergen Avenue, where we have a new grocery store that does a tremendous amount of type 10 solid waste packaging for nightly pickup, including animal parts, meats, things like that, right? And they were storing it. They actually thought they were doing a good thing. They were storing it on the side of their building, right? Probably about 12 to 15 bags a night, but they were interfering with pedestrian movement on the sidewalk next to the building. So we went back and forth with them a few different times and tried to figure out some type of solution. And the only solution that we could come up with, and Joe's gonna love this, is them just timing their staff with their carter so that all they needed to do was just bring the bags out from the store and put it right in the back of the truck, right? And so those are the types of scenarios that or solutions that we try to look for. Unfortunately, not every business can accommodate that because it's a staffing issue, right? But where it can be accommodated, we try and find those types of solutions. And I only point it out because there are challenges that we see in a lot of these properties, and everyone is doing their absolute best to do the right thing. They're doing their best to be in compliance, but there's a number of different factors involved, including economics, when it comes to staffing and being able to maintain a high standard of care. So that's it.
And then I guess from the prosecutor's office, from your vantage point, are there any recurrent trends? Any crimes that are in resurgence in the area?
I mean, I think it absolutely is. It's the garbage is a huge issue for our code compliance folks. Many times the question is it not being picked up for a specific reason? But when the inspector goes by, they see that trash out there, they're issuing them summons, right? It would be phenomenal if there was some better ways to communicate that, a better container, a better process of rolling in and out. Unfortunately, we do have the limitations of an ageable city with that. So our efforts are, if there's an infraction and there's a summons issued, at that point we seek to enforce. We try to be reasonable. Our goal is to find justice, whatever that may be. Because we want a just result. And the key is Whatever that takes to achieve that, that's what our goal is. We're not here simply to punish someone. But there are circumstances where, we have to because we want to upkeep the city that we have and to continue to enhance it. The only way to do that is to enforce our municipal ordinances.
Excuse me. Just, can I,
Is it for a question?
on the same subject, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna have one more question and I'm gonna open it up to you guys. So just bear with me for 1 second. And the last question from me before I open it up to the audience is JSQCA stands ready, to collaborate with the three organizations. We've had a long-standing relationship with you guys that predates me joining the organization 2 years ago. But I'll put the question out there, like, how can JSQCA continue to play a constructive role and assisting you guys in your operations?
Look, I think more communication is always better. Setting a good example. If you live in a multi-unit building, make sure that you are monitoring what your neighbors are doing and make sure that you're doing whatever you can to be in compliance with local law. Like that is the key to any city where we have high density and we have a number of different, we have a confluence of different factors impacting us, right? It's really important for those that do have the ability to act in compliance for them to do that and to make sure that we're talking about it on a regular basis. Make sure that you're checking in with your building managers. Make sure that you understand what the local laws are. And when you see something, say something, right? That's the most important thing. And don't go to social media with it. Come here and talk to the people that actually have the ability to make a difference, right? Because it's very hard to control everybody's actions, and you're not going to do that by criticizing people, in public. You're going to do that by working with the entities that have the ability and in some cases the management responsibility, right, to make things better. And so I would just encourage you to always pick up the phone, give us a call, tell us what's going on. We'll talk to you guys just the same way like we're talking to you tonight. We're here to make a difference and to make sure that things improve. So I think that's the best advice that I could offer.
I definitely want to concur with that. Communication is key. Just simple example, my neighbor, for like the last 30 years, just happened to put out some trash. They were doing a trash collection day. I mean, he no longer lives there. He's helping out his family. Simple phone call. Hey, do you know you put out the trash on the wrong day? He didn't realize it. Picked it up, took it in. Sometimes people make very innocent mistakes. Sometimes, circumstances come about where, neighbors leaving early on vacation and need some assistance. Helping one another, communicating one another will go a very long way in achieving our goal.
That is a great, by the way, that's a wonderful example. I'm sure that interpersonal interface had way more of an impact on the neighbor than, going online and, in a passive aggressive way and criticizing somebody, right? That interface is so important. It just lands differently for people. And I think that you could definitely expect better outcomes when you engage in that level of interpersonal communication.
Yeah, and I just want to jump on exactly what you guys said. Communicating, I believe, I don't have the numbers, but I believe the general square area is the biggest. We get the most C-click fixes and from throughout the entire city. We have 2 outstanding inspectors in your area. In this, in the general square area that work very hard. They write the most tickets, probably out of my whole crew. And just communicating with us, letting us know where the problem is. Let's see if we can fix it. When specifically with trees, we were speaking with Mary about this the other day. There's a lot of tree trimming going on in General Square. And
That's a nice way to put it.
we do everything we possibly can. I was with the prosecutor one day. We went down to the area. We knocked on every single door multiple times. We tried to get every ring camera, every piece of, video footage we can, the businesses around there. If we don't have evidence, we can't write the ticket. So if you have anything that could help us, send it our way and, so we can prosecute us, so that we can prosecute.
Absolutely, that's key. So Director Barrow's giving you an example. Complaint comes in and a tree has been damaged. Somebody did it. What exactly is the city doing about it? Our municipal ordinance, we have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. The same burden that you have to prove that somebody committed the act of murder is the same burden I have to prove somebody damaged the tree. So that burden means we need to have evidence beyond the reasonable doubt that a specific person damaged that tree. Not that a person or something damaged it, but a specific person. And that's the challenge sometimes. So if you see something, you have evidence, that's helpful when it comes to the prosecution stage.
So we're gonna open it up now for questions. And so there's a mic, it should be on already. Feel free to, line up behind it. I'll be monitoring the chat. There are some here that are also, asked on behalf of the folks that are joining us online. And one thing to keep in mind is Director Barrow has a hard stop at 8. And so if you have a burning code compliance question, ask it sort of now. We have about 30 minutes left with Director Barrow. So just putting that out there. So while the queue starts, one question that did come up here from the chat is, how can we contact your respective offices? Is there an email? Is there a number?
Yeah, well, you can contact the Residence Response Center at 201-547-4900. You could go to ClickFix, which is our 311 system. They have a portal there that you can put your complaint in, you can, get an account, or it could be anonymous, whatever you want to do. Or you could call our office at 201-209-6600.
And for the municipal prosecutor's office?
Yeah. So once again, under the Quality of Life Division, which this prosecutor handles, also under that umbrella is the Residence Response Center. So I would encourage everyone at the starting point to submit their secret fix. Because you can submit evidence, you can submit your contact information, and that's what we can utilize in the event that it arises to prosecution. That information is key to helping us. So these systems have been put in place, and we highly encourage you all, please utilize.
Victoria, hello at Public Spaces goes to me and you and who else? And it's I, right? So hello at publicspaces.com is a great email to reach us at. It goes to the three of us, and we'll be very quick to respond to any issues that come up. And if it's an issue that is outside of our purview, but we can still be helpful in kind of coordinating a response, you can count on us to do that as well. So that would be the best way to get us, and you can email us at 24/7. We'll respond as soon as we possibly can.
Great. So I will project since I don't have a mic, but Bill, why don't you start us off?
Sure. Hi, I'm Bill Armbruster, co-founder and first president of this association, and I do have a question about absentee landlords. But first, I just want to point out the incredible role that Chris played in helping us start the JSQCA. More than 10 years ago, we started meeting in the fall of 2015 in his office, and he and a couple of his colleagues were extraordinarily helpful, and that's why this organization, I think, has lasted this long. So it's kudos to you, Chris, for that. So my question, though, is about absentee landlords. I know with Renee as chair of our cleaning committee, always used to send letters to people about that they were not keeping their properties up. And so many of them were owned by LLCs, and they were returned to our PO box. And I would get them. It was just so frustrating for us. So how do you, Joe and Vishnu, and also Chris, how do you deal with absentee landlords? How are you able to enforce the codes? And It might include things like failure to pay taxes.
So I'll start. So what happens was when an inspector goes out and sees a violation in front of the building, they take pictures, they go back to the office. We don't have anything where you could just write the ticket right there and put it in the mailbox. We go back to the office, we look up the address, go on the tax plate. If it's an LLC, we have to do some more digging. We have to go to the county register office. We have to look through LexisNexis, different things, because a lot of these absentee landlords hide behind their LLCs, and it makes it a lot more difficult. Instead of, taking 10 minutes to write a ticket, it might take, a half hour, maybe more. When we do finally find one, we issue the summons. I'll give you, there's a property on Logan Avenue that everything was done absolutely perfectly. The inspectors went out, did their job, wrote the correct summonses, sent it to the prosecutor prosecuted them. They did a trial and abstention. We got $125,000 in fines just on this one property, but the problem still exists because the landlord doesn't show up to court. And the prosecutor can speak more to this, when it comes up. So everything is done the right way. And yeah, the city will get the money from the fines eventually when the building's sold, but that doesn't solve the problem of getting the garbage cleaned. We still have to call DPW to pick it up or get a health inspector down there to issue an emergency clean. So it is one of our biggest obstacles doing this.
So yeah, just to piggyback on that. So we have to work within the parameters of the law. So we're limited a little bit on what we're able to do or not do. As a landlord that has an entity, for example, an LLC, there are within our court rules, we're able to prosecute them in their absence. Whereas an individual, if they're named, depending on the severity, if it's a health and safety issue, we could potentially request a warrant for their arrest. Obviously, you can't arrest the company, but the rules permit us to proceed in their absence if the court gives us that permission, whereby the court will enter a not guilty plea for that entity, then a trial is scheduled in their absence. We proceed in their absence. If they fail to appear, we'll proceed in their absence. We will eventually get a judgment, whatever monetary judgment that is. We then send that off to our law department in the city, where they docket that judgment in Superior Court. And then it gets eventually docketed as a judgment against that entity. So whatever property is owned by that entity, it's now a docketed judgment against that. Judgments are good for 20 years, right? You have the ability to renew it. But if that entity just sits on that property, does nothing with it, that judgment still remains. As Director Barrow mentioned, if they try to transfer that property, that judgment then becomes something that has to be paid. There's very strategic ways landlords are trying to evade it. As he mentioned, you're digging for half an hour, 45 minutes to find out even where to send a notice to a registered agent, because the law requires that. Because it's an LLC that has a registered agent as another entity, another LLC, and you're just digging layer after layer after layer to try to find an individual to notify as well. Because our goal is to get the issue corrected, right? If it's a persistent offender, we have issues at a property, we want the issue corrected. That's our goal. And maybe we give them a little leeway if they act quickly, responsibly, address the issue. We may not seek those high penalties as we would if you just ignore us. But it is a process, and we are limited to what the law permits us.
The only thing I would add is we often find properties that are in bank foreclosure to be problematic. We actually had a really bad issue at 600 Pavonia 2 years ago when that property was in transition. And the only way we were able to get in contact with the bank or the financial institution was to find the attorneys that were involved. It took us about a week to call different entities that we were able to find. We were finally able to get in touch with one of the attorneys that was representing the bank. And we actually were able to get them to help us get a lot cleaned up over there. 600 Pavonia is right across the street from the old McLaughlin Funeral Home, just a little bit further down.
The doctor's office.
Renee's doctors in there, right? They were, yeah, it was crazy what was going on in there. Homeless people were getting in and living up like on the top floor, and they were putting random pieces of furniture out, like large stuff. But we were able to get in touch with the lawyer and get it, solved. But yeah, I mean, that's, once again, you never know what's actually going on until you kind of dig and then you find out like, that's why this happened. So.
Thank you all very much.
Hi, I'm Margaret. I'm dead. No, I'm Margaret Doman. I'm a board member, chair of the history and outreach co-chair. So I think that Bill already has the questions that I was asking about. Again, shout out to Chris, who's been a guiding hand for our organization up until today. With, the all of the events that we have all the time, making sure the porta potties are there and the trucks to clean everything, very square day. So kudos to you. And to our clean committee, because all the time, I don't know if people know that this committee goes out and actually cleans the streets. It's been that way for many, many years. Renee, myself, Mary, Travis, everybody, I think has had a turn. So kudos for our clean committee. But to that point, and this is a little bit about, I'm not sure whether this is an absentee owner or not. So Mary, Renee will be familiar with this. There is one particular building that has weeds that grow up practically to the roof. And we complained about that in the past. And they actually did cut them at one time. But now they've grown back. And now there's a red sticker. So we don't know whether that's an absentee owner or someone that is just disregarding it. I don't know if that's determined. And I did understand what you said about pursuing this. But in the meantime, while these judgments go on, et cetera, the situation still remains the same. So it's unhealthy, trash is being dumped in there. So could you speak to that? And what about our B&B, owners? How do we deal with that as well?
So what's the property that you speak? Do you know the address?
The big one that's right on Livonia with the grass that you cut several times.
Oh, yeah.
On Tunnelly.
Livonia going down.
Tunnelly, right before Livonia.
Oh, you mean 72 maybe?
Yes,
Yeah,
72.
yeah, but I think that house might be coming down.
But the grass is still there, so we don't know. So that's the question. What is the situation? But in the meantime, whatever it is, the grass is still there and it's going to still be done.
Well, yeah, I want to, actually, to your point, you spoke to your neighbor from 30 years, but you had a neighbor to speak to. We have so many absentee landlords on the block, we don't have anybody to speak to. So I can't go next door and say, I do have a next door neighbor that lives there. So I can say, Jimmy, it's not garbage night tonight. But for all the apartment buildings and for all the properties, even 2-family houses that are owned by somebody who does not live here, who do you speak to? I mean, you can knock on the door and speak to a tenant, but that's not really their role. So that's why we're struggling, because we don't usually have people to talk to. I'm a homeowner, so I know who owns homes on the block, but it's not always the case. So you love us.
Yeah, no,
So you have to report them.
100%.
Because you don't have any recourse but to report a property owner that's, a property that's negligent, so.
And really, do you have any way of following up? Because this was reported and obviously was addressed at one point because I took the before and after pictures. But do you have any mechanism for, kind of checking back when a building has been fined, for example? Because that would be a good way to raise revenue, not to put it that way, but the fines, I guess, increase.
Yes, so we have our, for prosecutors, or we have an internal system that we track. So if your property is cited last month, cited again this month, we're tracking that. So the next time we see you, likely your penalties are getting higher and higher and escalating because you're a persistent offender. And within our municipal ordinance, it permits us to seek an enhanced penalty from folks that are committing the same offense habitually within a short period of time.
And then you put the lien on the property. But in the meantime, how does the health situation get addressed? Whether it's tall grass or they said garbage, who takes care of that?
So we can have the city commit, we put a notice of violation and on top of the summonses, a 287 notice of violation, we send it over to DPW. It's a long process because we have to mail it out. It's registered mail, we have to wait You know, so it might take 6 weeks, but then DPW puts it on their clean list. Now, DPW doesn't have a lot of staff to take care of all the city needs, plus the notice is a violation that the 287 notice is a violation that we put out. We probably put out 50 or 60 a month, that's just vacant lots. And to clean all those. So sometimes they'll get clean, sometimes they won't. Then they bill the owner of the property. They put a lien on the property.
Thank you. So maybe in the process is what you're saying. Properties grow.
And then just like Chris was saying, somebody could have passed away. It could be in bankruptcy. It could be going back and forth through different banks. So that's one of the big problems we have with, abandoned properties that nobody
Okay, thank you. The other situation that came up right the next corner there is situation with Red Triangle, I believe it's called. And I just came from City Hall and I didn't know that you kind of were there's some coordination there. Here, I guess the developer had agreed as a community amenity to put in a little plaza with trees and so on and so forth. So they put in some plants, and then a few days later, there were 3 pretty large trees, but they were left there for a week, and the plants died because they were not water mineral, and the trees have also. So I did make a complaint, and now the trees are there. Now they dug up the stuff, but I did not know until today that it's really code compliance as well, not just the forest or sustainability, because that developer, I understand, until that situation is really cleared up, won't be given the go ahead to open the building. Can you speak to that at all? Or when they agree to do that also, do you require that work be done by a registered, not a forester, but someone who's really qualified? Because I saw this when they were putting it in, and I don't think that they were qualified foresters, and that probably contributed to all 15 plants just dying.
So I can't speak to that. I know a little bit of it. I know that when that building was put up, part of the deal was to refurbish the Triangle Park. And I know there was one case they started early without the permits to shut everything down. They started like a week early or whatever. But that's not us. That wouldn't be us to all the ins and outs of what they've registered, what they should do, if they should have a forester. Then you have to speak to infrastructure on that.
So once basically the plot, yes.
So we have some questions
Yeah.
coming through, and I know that.
Thank you. Just going to clarify this last point. Once the developer has delivered 3 trees and some plants checked and it's done, and they can open their building regardless of what happens to those plants.
I couldn't speak to it.
All right, thank you.
Mary, just give me 1 second, because
Yes,
this question I think is gonna be pertinent to the director.
Take your time.
We have about 15 minutes with the director. Does the deficit affect your respective organizations or departments, the current deficit?
Well, I can say we would certainly wish to have a lot more manpower. I think Director Barrow just mentioned about the amount of what we call cleaning trees that are sent out by the Office of Compliance. And, the ability of us to, prosecute cases that, with more personnel, we can prosecute more cases. So in that regard, yes, if we had a surplus of funds, it would certainly help.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I co-sign. Okay. Mary. Thanks.
Good evening. I'm just going to tell a really quick story that I think very funny, and which goes along with some of the things you guys were saying. So, I live in a condo building. There's 202 units, and we have a trash room on each floor, so 6 trash rooms. Very simple. There's a trash chute in the wall for like kitchen garbage. There's a can for glass and metal cans, and there's one for paper. And then boxes are supposed to be broken down and left in the corner. Well, there are times you cannot get in the trash room because of all the junk in there. And people are like writing down apartment numbers and turning them into management. So about 3 months ago, they put cameras in all of our trash rooms, and you wouldn't believe how clean our trash rooms are now because they're also sending out fines. So I just think that it's really amusing. I mean, the building's like 18 years old, and it took this long to get around to it, but it really paid off. So, some of the questions, this is not really a long list.
Okay, can I just add, that's a perfect example of you voicing your opinion in your community and getting results.
Exactly.
Seeing results because folks spoke up about it. And that's why I encourage you all, when you speak to your management, when you speak to your landlords, that voice carried a lot of weight.
And plus, we don't have a big staff, so when a guy has to spend 15 minutes cleaning out one trash room, that affects the schedule for the whole building. I mean, aside from the fact that it's just inconsiderate of your neighbors, so let's say 85% of everybody's considerate, and there's one creep on every floor, and everybody knows who it is, by the way. Anyway, so I don't have any questions here. I just didn't want to forget anything. A couple of things that are on here you guys have answered already. So one thing that concerns me is public education. So I've lived in Jersey City for 10 to 12 years, depending on how you count, and I have never seen any public education go out about recycling, trash, property maintenance, anything. You know, I come from a town of 9,000 people, and we used to do it every 2 years. Don't they think that people want to know what they're supposed to do? At any rate, we would like to see a public education campaign take place. I think it's very needed. By the way, we're also really excited to have this new administration and some old people, some new people. We think this is a great opportunity to change attitudes in Jersey City. I think attitudes are a huge part of the problem. So public education is part of that. And by the way, I've been on the clean committee for about 8 years with Renee and Travis, and we communicate, I would say 3 to 4 times a week at least between each other, and we meet once a month. And I think Chris Bernardo is going to be joining some of our meetings. So we are open to collaboration, and we want to collaborate and be a positive force. One thing that we're really big on besides public education, being out in the street teaches you a lot of stuff that I'm sure you guys know, but the average resident doesn't. And we've learned some things that were a little bit surprising. One is that the workers on construction sites are pigs. They take their lunch stuff and they throw it down in the curb, they stuff it in their barricades, and all around for a block in every direction around a construction site is just disgusting. So we think that every construction site should have a trash can for workers and should be monitored for compliance. Another thing is food stores and restaurants are an enormous source of street trash. So we would like to see food stores and restaurants have to have containers for their customers to use. And I guess the last thing I'm going to say is we have been working off and on for a couple of years on a proactive program to get some of this litter off the streets before it hits. And we have quite a few suggestions. And we would like to know if you would collaborate and back us on a package of suggestions for new legislation to clean up Jersey City streets.
Oh, of course, I know Barry, we've talked a bunch of times, we've done a lot of walking tours together. Whenever you want, I'm willing to do that. We could set up a meeting sometime during the day somewhere, get coffee. And, you know, especially with the Councilman Zuba, and see what we can come up with.
Well, we're planning to have something together by August to present for hopefully introduction in September. So we'll get in touch.
Yeah, let me know.
All right.
Awesome. We will follow up with you, Director Barrow. Okay, so we have quite a few questions that are coming in through the chat. I'll start with this one. It seems, this is relevant given what we saw this past weekend with trash being blown all over the place. It seems like a lot of the litter comes from recycling being blown around by strong winds. Why doesn't the city just require containers?
Oh, they can. Most of the
Those containers?
yeah, I think most people put them in bags, plastic bags and stuff. But yeah, I think it should be, everybody should be required to put it in.
And to confirm, our code does those state that you should have.
Education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You know,
because the city ones are open.
Open.
Yeah, the recycling ones, yes, but the, when, and I'm assuming we're talking about the containers on your property and your housing your garbage.
This is more of a public.
When they put it.
I'm experienced, you know.
Online.
Perhaps people do have lists to people, and then of course they get lost with it or into collection.
And I'll just ask one more from the chat. What's the hardest part of your jobs?
I gotta leave in a couple of minutes. But
I can tell you a lot of times is the perception, right? As I articulated a little bit earlier, is our burden of proof is very high, and folks want to see results and immediate results. So one of those things is when we're assessing the case, you know, and trying to meet that burden, we have to prove in court that high burden. So the evidence and proofs are very, right? As I gave the example earlier, a tree being damaged, if we can't find the person that committed that action and have that beyond a reasonable doubt proof, that's going to be challenging for us to meet that burden. Otherwise, when we're prosecuting these absentee landlords, as we've been discussing, we're getting these judgments, but the judgments are sitting. But that's not, you all are not seeing an immediate result from that. So the question is, what is the city doing? City is taking actions. City is acting within the confines of the law. But the perception may be, I still see that high weed there for the past 3 weeks. Why is it still, you know? And believe me when I say the city is taking action, trying to identity because it's all, and that's our goal is for landlords to be in compliance with our municipal codes, with our laws. And if they're not, we're gonna do our best to, you know, have them feel it financially, because that's what we're able to do. Our municipal court judges do not have the ability to say, go cut your weeds, go fix your sidewalk. That's something another court, another jurisdiction, Superior Court might be able to do, but not in municipal court. We are left with that monetary penalty.
Excuse me. I have a question. Illegal dumping is so much, I'm sure a lot of landlords are going through, especially the small construction guys. They don't have way to dump their stuff. I have a commercial corner property where they have a private holding. So let's say at 11 o'clock when they come, whether it's interstate garbage company or whatever, they know the garbage, their garbage, right? They'll pick up something as soon as it's heavy bag. If it's construction bag, they will leave it on the side. By the time I find out, or my tenant will find out next day morning, Joe, your guy's probably writing me a ticket, that early disposal or no pickup or something, right? I call up, I usually deal with Jerry or Chris, you know, and Jerry calls up someplace and they finally in 2 to 3 days, DPW has the time to pick it up. But meanwhile, I'm getting like 4 or 5 tickets already. I gotta pull my burden now to Vishnu, you know, that, hey, that's not my fault, you know.
Well, if you contact us, and you could, I mean, I'm sure you have cameras.
Yeah, I do.
If you have cameras and send it to us and say, listen, you know, we don't have inspectors that can sit in front of the property with somebody, you know what's going on.
Right.
Send us that video and we'll dismiss that ticket, no
Oh,
problem.
no, I did
You don't have
it.
to go.
I did
I'm
it
sure we
with-
have it. If you have-
Yeah, I did it with Jerry, and Jerry usually deal with somebody.
Yes.
That's the first thing. Second thing with Vishnu's thing, when DPW, you know that, they don't go to every single street. They miss out. I'm sure you're getting complained, they miss the garbage, and same thing, your inspector writes early. Who leaves garbage at 4 o'clock in the morning? It's the night that was, you know, it was put out and your guys didn't pick it up. It's still landlord's fault. That is, I think your inspector needs to know that whether the garbage, you know, one guy leaves the early disposal, but if you see like 7 people in the same row, whether it's Magnolia Avenue or Pavonia Avenue, you know, everybody doesn't leave 4 o'clock in the morning.
No, of course, and all the inspectors know that. If we go down the street and there's garbage still out from the night before, we call into DPW and say, oh, regional missed this block. But when we go down certain other streets, it might just be one place that we're missing. So what we do there is we call it in. Then we have our evening and night guys monitor that property because most of the time, the business or the residents isn't putting the garbage out till 10 o'clock at night when the truck is already done.
It's already gone.
And then they lie and say, oh no,
Oh, no.
I missed it, which they didn't. They put it out at 10 o'clock when the truck already went by. But if you garbage out between 5 and 7, if somebody misses it, the next morning, call DPW right away. And
The
they'll
problem,
let us know not to write a ticket on it.
problem, Joe, thing is before you even find out, let's say I'm a landlord, I go there at 10, 11 o'clock. I find out, I have somebody put the garbage back inside or call up one of the area inspector and they will call DPW. That ticket by the time I get it in my house, which is 20 days, 30 days later, I don't even know what date it was. You know what I'm saying? It's small property, everywhere, there's no camera there. So it's an issue there. Now I have to prove it that no, it was not my fault, so I think
Let me just say, one, it sounds like Coach Black's doing a phenomenal job. Good job, Joe. Your team is working hard out there. That's a challenge. I think Director Barrow was saying if there's a row garbage left, more than likely readily identified, right? That they just missed it. If it's that one-off landlord or property superintendent that puts out that garbage, maybe late and doesn't do it, or maybe somebody comes and throws your trash.
Oh, they
in front of
do,
your-
they do.
In front of your property, the inspector does not know that, but there, and for just to presume that, our city will be filled with that because we're gonna say, oh, there must be a valid reason. Let me not issue a cell.
And how many times you see a garbage there and somebody's walking, they'll put something on top of that. Well, maybe, if it's a soda can, that's not recycling can that's
So
another.
yeah, I agree with you there. Somebody drops it, recycling, refill you. Like,
So just,
but, yeah, let us know, let DPW know that I put it out this I know, you may have somebody that takes your garbage out for you. You may hire someone. I've seen it a million times. The person that got hired is lying to you, telling you that they went there at 5 o'clock.
Oh, no, they sent me a picture at 5 o'clock. It was garbage out with the video thing, that's not.
Well, that's good. That's you sent to us if the tickets are written to you and it's dismissed.
But,
So
I
you
mean,
don't have to go to court.
The thing I wanna know is if I show you the plate, that guy who's dumping, whether it's a pickup van or how far do you go to
So,
get that guy?
We have a police unit attached to our office. And whenever somebody finds anything with illegal dumping, we need, like I said, we don't dust the fingerprints. It's give us, some evidence. Give us the license plate. Within 5 minutes.
Chris,
you'll have it.
Jerry has it, Chris, so if you can go
Right,
talk to him,
Yeah.
The property at the corner of Tunnel and
Yeah,
right?
right.
It's actually, honestly, if you're gonna pick a property to illegally dump in front of,
It's a perfect
it's a
spot,
perfect spot.
Yeah.
And because you can go in and turn around and go right back out, down 7. I would suspect that we're probably getting a lot of contractors from Kearney and from surrounding areas that are doing that. They're coming in there. That would be a perfect spot actually for a task force
Yeah.
to kind of like keep.
The guy is on pickup, standing at traffic light, red light, he'll come outside and I saw him taking 2, 3 bags, just dump it with my another 20 bag, which they're paying privately. I don't even mind if the private guys picks it up, but he won't because they know it's a heavy bag.
Well, like I said, please let us know. We can look at cameras, we work with the county, that's a county incinerator authority. They have investigators, their whole job is illegal dumping. And I must speak to them 3, 4 times a week. We have meetings, every couple of months just to come up with a plan. We stopped the problem, not in Ward City, but another area of the city that was dumping for years. That's finally been fixed. We can work on it, catch the people that are doing it.
Sure, let's give.
I
thank-
live right there. But we used to have contractors dumping there all the time. It has improved markedly. We do things like one day I went out there and there were like all these little pieces of paper on the ground that were just alike, and I picked them all up, and there were 17 receipts from a Papa John's pizzeria in Union City, and I called him up and said, "Tell your guy not to clean his truck out and dump his trash."
See, that's something we have that, give that to me.
But it used to be awful. It's much better now.
So definitely 2 takeaways. As soon as you find the issue, reach out if it's DPW that missed it and needs to come pick up. The quicker you make that call, the the more valid the position is that it was not you or an agent of yours that left that out, right? And then vigilance. If we can get the license plate picture of the person dumping, we have a quality of life officer, Jersey police officers that are tasked with helping us address these quality of life issues. Give us some leads and we'll do our best.
Oh, we're always there for you. No problem. Thank you.
Director Barrow, just want to give you a heads up there.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
There are some that I think you can weigh in on, so maybe I'll give you two and then you can.
Yeah, that's all.
Awesome. Okay, so first one, given the cracking and movement of our building has already experienced from a nearby construction, we're worried about the 51-story building planned across the street. Is there anything the Office of Code Compliance can do before that project starts to help protect neighboring buildings?
That is a construction code issue. Our inspectors don't get stuff like that. That would be construction code all the way. They would have to come in there and look to see if the building was deemed unstable. Unhappy, things like that, yes.
All right, so construction code, all right.
Now, if you can give me the address, I can speak to people the next time we have our construction code task force, we go to that property, take a look. What, do you have the address there?
They don't have the address, but
If they get.
put it in there and maybe we can reach out to you separately
Yeah.
at some point. Okay. And the second one that came up is, what can be done to get more public trash bins with the top to prevent people from dumping household waste in the bins?
I would love that. I hate going to garbage bins looking for names. Yeah, our trash bins are wrong. We don't have bins, and a lot of them don't even have the little sign that says, no household trash, which I think that has to be something that changes over the next couple of years. I think they should be better. You know, other cities has better garbage bins that have more secure, less, covers to them, and I just think.
We're actually looking into, at some point, being able to convert the traditional trash can over to the, compactor cans. And we're hoping to be able to, potentially utilize UEZ funding to do that. We actually met with a company recently, not Big Belly, a different company that provides a community collection point with compacting ability for type 10 solid waste, not recyclable, just solid waste. And we have a few areas around the district that we think that type of collection point would work really well. But we're a little bit a ways away from that. But it's definitely something that's in the works. We also, obviously would like to find something that is rodent proof, because that's a big deal. So there's definitely conversations being had about how we do that and what the potential funding source might be.
Dr. Barrow, there's one more. Sorry. Can OCC help get residents and the developer talking early about things like vibration limits and less disruptive construction methods where possible, like drilling instead of pile driving?
That's not my office, that's
Construction.
yes.
That is construction. Okay.
I'll just follow up on that. Many developers, they have these planning board meetings. They have you as a community have a voice before they even break ground about what they can erect on that location and how they're going to do that. So at that time, there's public notices go out. I highly encourage you all to participate in that, so you're aware of that, and ask those questions to get any type of weird.
The city passed an ordinance a year or two ago requiring businesses to dispose of their trash in orange bags, but there is no nighttime enforcement, so this is frequently ignored. Can the ordinance be changed to require businesses to instead put their trash in bins like they do in New York City? Orange bags scale just like other bags, so this is still an issue.
Well, we don't enforce that. I've done walking tours at every SIP. The orange garbage bags, I don't know if that's a great idea, because there's not a lot of orange garbage bags out there. But
Yeah.
I think most of the businesses now are getting bags. And if there's any place that where you don't see a business, I just hit 2 places this week that that didn't have barrels, and we just issued them fines for.
And then we have two specific properties here. There are some properties like 166 Tunnelly that have been reported for the same issue multiple times over the years. Why is this still an issue? Similarly, 823 Newark has been a mess for months. It's a vacant lot with no fence and is completely overgrown. Are egregious properties being assessed daily fines?
Yes, they can be assessed daily fines. It's hard to go to every property every day. We have a SharePoint system where if, when the prosecutors see that H23, oh, we got it, the first of the month, and we got it the 20th of the month. And they'll see a bunch of fines for it. We can't go to every property that's like that every day. I don't have that many inspectors. But yeah, that's.
How many inspectors do you have, Joe?
Oh, excuse me, dying. I have 20 inspectors altogether. 20, but that's not just for what we're talking about here. I have neighborhood inspectors that patrol each ward. And then I have inspectors that handle housing issues, like tenant landlord situations. So I have to split that because I have just as many complaints about that as I do with sanitation and neighborhood issues. And then I have 2 inspectors overnight. I used to have 4, and I have 2 inspectors evening shift where I used to have 4 also.
I have one more from the chat, and so if there's folks here, feel free to line up. And I know Director Barrow, you almost have to go. I believe this one was answered, but you may be able to add additional context. Okay, so it's clean up. Okay, so this resident has been living in this area for over a decade and is experiencing the same sort of issues with the same properties regarding litter. These properties have been reported dozens and dozens of times. The city's attempts at education, warnings, and summons clearly aren't working for these properties. And so the Clean Committee has, reported some of these as bad. What remedies exist to address this? Can penalties be made stiffer? So this is within the context of we're identifying the same usual suspects. How does that work? Can the fines be made just progressively stiffer every time that they're reported?
Absolutely, this is the prosecutor side. Yes, if we, as I mentioned earlier, if we see a habitual offender, they're treated completely differently than a first time offender. Because we recognize, for whatever reason, things are happening at this property that's causing an issue. And whatever that reason is, if the landlord is not addressing it, yes, we're taking that position. We're gonna enhance those penalties and hopefully by financially making it more severe, you're gonna figure out a way to address it. If not, it's gonna continue to escalate.
Are there any more questions for the folks in the audience? What is that, Mark?
You mean for?
Well, in the audience, if there's any questions for the.
No.
Okay. We have a comment here in the chat. If you walk down Newark Avenue at night, most businesses on Newark Avenue and Little India do not dispose of their trash in bins. There is no follow-up questions, it's more of a remark. If you have a specific question, maybe you could put it in and we can ask the panelists.
Well, I can have that, I did. I'll study that.
Okay.
Talk and educate the rest of the systems. I know we've done. Tunnelly too. Sure. JSK. But actually, we can all. I can go back if we can.
Tunnelly is not just the businesses, it's residential as well. They just put the plastic bags. Almost nobody has bins on Tunnelly.
How does the prosecutor's office know if someone is a repeat offender in your records? Should we make mention of this in C-click fix request?
No, we have our internal file system that we track each property. And every time a complaint is issued, we store it within our file system. So we'll know if that landlord has been issued a summons previously.
Okay. Any questions from the audience? Questions from the folks joining us remotely?
So, yeah, I have just kind of a general question like that. So, other than someone actually reporting a situation with garbage in any capacity, you really don't have any way of knowing that that situation exists. Is that correct?
We have our code compliance inspectors actually traversing the area
Oh,
to do inspections and their daily functions. So we're not waiting just for a secret
Right.
fix, although we will address it.
Yeah, no, so
Yeah.
when, like I said, the biggest thing I have is staffing issues. I've since day one, I've had a proactive plan for the city where you could have inspectors, we just don't have staff. But the last type of strategy I've put together kind of works. I have, so just for this type of thing, I have an inspector in each ward that gets secret fixes, emails, we get almost just any secret fix emails that we do secret fixes. And they drive around, they just don't get that stuff. They drive around the area and most of the stuff they get is they found on their own, not even a secret fix.
right. Because right in that area, across the street from that Brett Park situation with the trees and the one with the excess weeds, right there, there is a property that is like on a corner. There's just the one sign, and it has really become literally a dumping ground. There's a lot of garbage, umbrellas. What is the address of that? Yeah, it's Tunnelly and Pavoni, exactly.
I'll have somebody.
It's really a dumping ground.
Yeah, I'll have somebody like that.
Thank
I
you.
think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So, I got
Okay. Another one came in through here. What can be done to expand the range of recyclables accepted in the city?
Education.
Alright, that would be a conversation with our sanitation, our DPW. They have specific criteria based on obviously, our state laws as well.
Yeah, I think it depends on each municipality has different recyclers. And some of them will accept certain types of plastics, for example, and others will not.
Actually, I do have one because this hasn't happened to me personally in a while, but I remember it was last summer we had in front of PS11 a blower, literally like at 6 a.m,
Mm.
just blowing the leaves. It's
Board of Ed. Board of Ed.
no PS11, the Barn Luther King Jr. School.
Yeah, but school.
Yeah, school.
You have no jurisdiction. I can go over there, talk to them, but I have no jurisdiction over that.
This hasn't been an issue in a while, but I do remember I was like, why? Like, how's that allowed? Like at 6 a.m, who does that?
Noise compliant.
Okay.
Noise, right? We have noise ordinances. So,
So does that mean that the BOE they have their own
Yes.
like compliance?
Maintenance.
they have their own there.
No, they're not gonna bring tables. They're very good. If there's a problem in one of the schools, I think once somebody calls me and we speak with somebody, it stops. So it's about the blower, they would stop it. I try to break the law. But yeah, I couldn't write it.
Okay. It's good to know.
A similar thing that is really neither code compliance nor cleanup, but right in that same corner that we're talking about, they had two signs and somehow a truck or someone, now the signs that show, caution people walk and stuff, now they're like this. Now, who takes care of fixing those signs? I mean, it's not like a really code thing or a cleanliness, but no, I think it would have been like
It
a
was
truck.
report. You mean on the corner of Pavonia and Tunnelly?
Yeah,
Damn, somebody reported.
the two of them.
It's been reported.
Terrible, yeah.
It was
But
reported.
who would do that in case it happens again? Oh, the Department of Administration.
When I send the inspector tomorrow, I have him take pictures and email
Everything.
them.
He'll clean up that corner.
Big Bazaar frequently blows trash into the street instead of cleaning their sidewalks. Is that legal?
No.
No.
Additional questions from here or from you guys joining us remotely?
Yeah, and just on that point too, even homeowners that decide to sweep things into the street or shovel things into the street, that is against our municipal ordinance. In violation of West.
Now, in the case of Big Bazaar, so it's not in compliance. Is that something that should be reported via secret fix? Is that something that we should email code compliance?
Code fixes, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you can stand behind the mic here so we can all hear you.
This is gonna be completely opposite of the current one. Like, how is the snow situation? Like, we learned the first snow, like snow removal and snow handling of sidewalks. I know it's the summer right now, but how is having the two back-to-back storms? I understand the freeze for 30 days straight below 32 was awful, but like,
But
what was some lessons that you guys learned from that?
well, so I'm not in charge of removal.
But like from
VW,
enforcement or
my staff can handle.
Mhm.
I think we answered every single snow complaint that came in, which I think was remarkable. And we issued over 1,600 summonses for snow, which, like I said, it's not that easy to write a ticket. It's not you take a picture and okay, here the ticket comes out. There's a lot of research that goes into it. It's a lot of you know, very time consuming, and it wasn't optimum conditions for people to be driving around. You know, the next couple of days, a lot of our cars got stuck in the snow. I'd have to come out in my truck and dig them out. So it wasn't a great winter. No.
Yeah, two additional things on the chat regarding Big Bazaar. It's already been reported, but they keep doing it. So it's a comment. And then another question, Osman Ghani frequently closes tickets as abated when they are definitely not abated. What can be done to stop city officials from doing this?
You'd have to be specific on the address, and I would look into it.
You may want to use the mic so we can hear you. Yeah, because otherwise it'll be hard. And Joe, again,
Hi everyone, my name is Shanita, and my question is, there's a lot of development taking place around Journal Square, and there's also a lot of trash that we've noticed walking by around those development sites. And is there being anything done specifically to work with the developers to mitigate the trash, like level of trash that we see around their properties while building? That's kind of also going on the streets and towards the sidewalks, which people are walking in or walking on.
Yeah, so we started a construction task force this year, where my team really doesn't handle construction stuff, but we do handle litter, we do handle sidewalk closures and different things like that. So we've been going out twice a month. I've seen a big difference since January in the construction sites that getting into compliance. So yeah, I think that's working. That's what we're trying to do to get them under control. Thank you. Like half.
yeah, no, thank you so much. Big hand for Director Barrow. Woo. And then for the rest of our panels, time or was there for FIFA World Cup. It's World Cup time. I guess this will be more for Chris. Is CDS planning anything around the World Cup for the community?
Well, the Special Improvement District is partnering with on two events. Oh, I'm sorry. The Special Improvement District is partnering with the city on, I should say, one event that's going to be on June 21st. That's going to be in Bergen Square. There's going to be an activation there. And then on June 27th at Magnolia Landing, there's going to be a viewing there as well. And it'll be combined with kind of a night market activity, which would be great. So we got 2 dates in Journal Square, the 21st and the 27th.
Hello. Perfect. Excellent. Margaret, let me just add one more question in here, and we'll go next. Can residents submit timestamp photos or GPS coordinates on C-Click Fix complaints to be used as evidence for court, or are only photos taken by the city admissible?
No, we will welcome that. The only additionally, you have to be aware of, in the event that matter goes to trial, we could review a person that was there with you that can authenticate that picture, say it's a true and accurate representation, it hasn't been altered. Just the rules of evidence in our court system, we would need that at the time of trial, but absolutely we will welcome the support by giving us that information.
Margaret.
I guess we moved on from the cleanliness, so we've had to, questions about part of the job and something for this as well. So related a little bit to the FIFA thing, one of the hard things that I've heard about is the trafficking situation in Jersey City, and that's a very difficult situation. Can you speak to that?
So obviously, we're gonna get congested. I don't think there's any way around it. I know the city is trying to implement certain plans to reduce traffic, whether that's remote work, whether it's with our JCPD, strategically stations in certain locations to help organize the flow of traffic and individuals. There is plans in place. Obviously, I think we all have to brace for the inevitable conclusion that there will be a lot more people in the city.
Thank you, but I really meant the trafficking of people.
Trafficking people.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Thank
So, okay. Thank you for the clarification. There's actually the state as well as the city has taken that significantly into consideration. I actually sit on the board of Immigration Affairs Committee that we advise City Council and Mayor on. And one of our major topics was trafficking that could be occurring during the peak of time specifically. We've had conversations with our public safety to ensure that there is adequate protection as best as we can do this. And the state also has certain folks that are going to be vigilant that are specifically located not only in Jersey City but throughout the surrounding areas as well. So it is a consideration, and they are being addressed.
Thank you. In terms of making complaints, this was a bit difficult because the communication, of course, is very important, taking those pictures. But in terms of developers and things that you mentioned, such as working too early or too late, but when you can't really call the resident response center, I know that I've been told you can call the police, but is there any real way to address that? Because once they start at 5 or 6, now it's already a different time, and now they're in compliance with that.
So importantly, if you have the timestamp, that C-Click fix, you access it 24/7. You can upload that information 24/7. So I would encourage that if you are taking a picture and it is timestamped, phenomenal. If you can add your contact information, because then we have teeth in our prosecution at that point. Generally, that case will likely not even reach a trial stage because you've now equipped us with that evidence and proofs to help us have a strong position when we're discussing this with the offender. So absolutely encourage you to use that avenue like a super.
Thank you. And for Chris, again, moving from the cleanliness, in terms of the Magnolia Plaza and some of the events that are coming up there, I guess this is just an information. How would we advise you and your fabulous team, which is everything out there, about opportunities that might come up for flea markets or people that want to have large scale events there?
Yeah, we would love community feedback, and if there are people in the community that are looking to either let's say they have a home business and they're looking to maybe start to make their way toward something more established, and they want to use the market as a way to do that. We'd love to talk to local entrepreneurs about that. Or if you're a community organization just looking to get greater visibility for your organization, everyone is welcome. So just send them our way.
Thank you.
This one would be for Chris. CDS and SID, are they similar? Are they completely different? Do they overlap?
CDS is my company. We manage the Special Improvement District. The Special Improvement District is the district that we serve.
Thank you. And let's see. We have a comment for folks with iPhones. You can use the timestamp camera to take timestamp photos with addresses or GPS coordinates. So that's an FYI. And then question: why is the farmers market not being hosted at Path Plaza, given how much foot traffic it has?
I don't understand the question. There is a market at Path Plaza.
That's Magnolia Land.
Oh, wait, are they, it depends on what you, so right now we have two farmers markets. We have Magnolia Landing on Tuesdays. I'm sorry, on Fridays. And then we have Tuesdays, we have, on the Path Plaza, we have the second farmers market. Perhaps they're referring to the plaza in front of One Journal and referring to that as the plaza.
I may have to wait. But they made a comment, not at Magnolia Land.
Might be the signage too. There used to be a lot of signage, maybe a little more signage might be what they're talking about.
No, by escalators.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's on, that started, how many weeks ago? Two weeks ago? Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, Weekend Memorial Day started there on Tuesdays.
So Tuesdays,
Actually, we had a great turnout last week at that location.
for the folks here. Any last burning questions? Let's see. Oh, something came through. The market used to be on the plaza in the transportation center, and then it was moved to Magnolia Landing. What time are the farmer? 3 to 8, both days. So for the folks joining us remotely, are there any last burning questions? I think we're pretty set on our end here. So I'll give you guys another 15 seconds or so. Come on, this is the nature of the beast. All right. So I think that this is a good place as any to wrap up. And if other burning questions surface, we'll sort of communicate via email, and then we'll submit the answers sort of our socials. So first of all, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Vishnu, for attending and for answering all of our questions. Big round of applause, please. We look forward to continuing to collaborate with your respective organizations, some sort of agencies. Chris, 10th anniversary, stay tuned. I will be reaching out once we have a better understanding of how we're going to celebrate, but we'll be sure to invite you so that hopefully you can participate. Thank you. And so thank you guys. You are free to go. Thanks. And then I'll just make a few announcements and then we'll wrap up. So
It's an emergency for all of them.
so announcements. First of all,
It was a pleasure.
to continue with the clean theme.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. To continue with the clean theme, this Sunday, so it's Sunday, June 14th at 9:30 in the morning. We're gonna have our third cleanup event of the year. And it'll be at 9:30 in front of Wealth Kitchen, located at 615 Pavonia Avenue. Last time we had good turnout. We had some kids that came. So their friends, tell their neighbors, have kids come. It's a lot of fun. So that's this Sunday, June 14, 9:30 in the morning, 615 Pavonia Avenue. Then the second announcement is with regards to Bank. Let me come back to that. Perfect. So the next announcement is with regards to Van Kuren. For those of you who are not aware, there's this proposed waste facility that is being discussed in Van Kuren Avenue. We are very much against that proposal. We submitted a letter in opposition. There was supposed to be a hearing on June 4th, the second hearing that was postponed. But Margaret, this is where I might need you to provide some details. There will be another meeting at VIP Diner on this topic. So Margaret, why don't you give us the details?
So we're just wrapping up the details on that now, but please mark your calendars. This is a meeting that is open to the entire community, all council people, someone like this will be there. It will be at the VIP Diner on Monday, the 22nd. From 6 to 8. An additional treat or another feature will be that we will be screening the film on the Sacrifice Zone, which is about the Ironbound district in Newark. It has been referenced from time to time, but there had not been an opportunity to show that. So there will be the film screening, and Brooke from the Environmental Protection Agency will also be giving her presentation. So this is, if you have not attended a meeting already, or even if you have, please join us at the VIP Diner on Monday, the 22nd. 2nd from 6 to 8. There'll be some light refreshments, the film, and then a full presentation afterwards and comments. Thank you. Also, a separate issue. We do have a lot of new stores in the area. So, speaking to all of those store owners, please consider joining our General Association, because as you can see from tonight's agenda, the people that come and the issues that are discussed are issues that affect all the businesses as well as the residents. So please consider joining as a member or as a business. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. And once the flyer is out created for this upcoming meeting, I'll make sure and we'll be sure to publicize it via our socials. We can be found on Instagram at JSQCA, YouTube, the JSQCA, Facebook, JSQCA, and Twitter. I'll call it that's Twitter, JSQCA. So please follow us. And then the last thing I'll mention, our next meeting is Monday, July 13th. The agenda is TBD. We're working to see if we can have Assembly Member Katie Brennan join us. So more to come there. So for now, just same date, Monday, July 13th. With that, thank you for joining us remotely. Thank you guys for joining us here. Have a good night.